Hi, I'm Sterling. Come on in. The water's dark, but it's probably fine. Thanks for joining me. This is the second chapter in an ongoing story about roads and the dark and parts unknown. It is titled, Jedediah is a Stranger. Jedediah stood and looked at the man for what seemed like a long time. Who are you really? Where are you from? They felt like heavier questions than they should, here in this place full of unknowns where everything he did know was strange. Arizona, he said finally. I'm from Arizona. But when I got onto the ruined road, I guess, I was in South Carolina. The man, Lazarus, he reminded himself, took a few eternal seconds to take in Jed's words. Ain't heard of no Arizona, he said, but you're roundabouts near the center south of Carolina now. Jed's question stuck somewhere between his tongue and palate. It was crazy. But no, crazy would be not to recognize that he'd spent well over a week walking through sheer madness. What year is it? Which calendar? Lazarus said. The answer was immediate. Habitual, matter of fact. Jed said, as he tried to join the gulf between the reality he was in and the one his brain clearly expected. Stupid, really. 9 sunsets, 9 nights of those strange stars. Still couldn't quite accept it. He swallowed, felt it go dry down his throat. Gregorian, I think? Marnie stepped forward and shook her head. Boy, that calendar went the way of the Revelation come a century and 10. Jed took a deep breath. Realized he was holding it, that the world was swimming round him, and let it out. Marnie said. Jedediah, you are seeming pale? Laz, reckon you might need catch him if he falls. Him and that big pack of his. Lazarus reached out to put a steadying hand on Jed's shoulder. Jed breathed in, breathed out, tried on his best grateful smile. Look, wherever it is I'm from, wherever it is this is, things are very, very different. Okay, let me see. How long has it been since Jesus was born? Nazarene, 18 centuries, and closing in on another half, I'd say. You're not a reader, Jedediah? Lazarus's tone was warm, only lightly reproachful, as though Jed's ignorance was a terrible shame, but maybe not entirely his shame. I am, Jed said, but I'm from somewhere else, I think. And he thought, 1840-something? 1850? How could he not be sure? He thought another moment, then said, Where I'm from, it's been well over 2,000 years, for sure. Or maybe when I'm from. But that can't be it either. This isn't any kind of past I ever read about. It's an almost past, like the almost cat. That's so, Lazarus said. He shared another look with Marnie that Jed couldn't quite read, but he guessed that crazy figured into it somehow. Jed found he needed somewhere to sit right now. But there was nowhere. The crossroads was flat, and it was just the roads and himself and Lazarus and Marnie. But the need was the need, and he sat anyway, fast enough to hurt his tailbone on the strange paving stones. Ugh, he said. He wanted to swear, but the words weren't coming. You been through a right bit of bad rain, Jedediah, Marnie said. There was a touch of pity in her words, but also plenty of spiky caution, stuck into it like burrs. Think the ruin might have scrambled your skull stuffins, Lazarus said. Jed closed his eyes and counted. 1, 2, 3, still here, still grit under his palms, scraped into them even, still an ache up his spine. Nothing broken, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Yeah, maybe, he said weakly. I'm telling the truth about where I'm from, though, and when it was. Lazarus grunted. Yeah? Yeah. It's not a joining I ever heard of, but now and then someone comes from one real odd. Oh, something, Marnie muttered beside him. Even in his sat down, somewhat untethered state, Jedediah took note of the capital letter in joining, which seemed to almost pull at the speaker's jaw. Sorry. Look, I'll let you get back to whatever it is you're digging for, if you can just point me to the nearest town. But before I go, what's a joining exactly? Marnie poked a strong, bony finger into Jed's shoulder. Like you said, another place, another time. Been comin', been goin' since the Revelation. More of 'em roundabouts here since the ruin, and this ain't the only one. You got none such where you from, boy? Time flow easy and clear? Jed took in one very deep breath and pushed up to his feet. Still strong, still well fed, still in good shape despite everything, thank whoever was in charge of this mad silver moon world for that. Yeah, so far as I know, at least until I found myself here, I was driving around dusk, and my car died and it got sort of inky dark around me like swirls and filigrees. Slightly overwrought description, he supposed, but he'd had a lot of time to describe it to himself in his head. By the time I could see again, I was here, or over there, down the road, by the ruin. He let his voice trail off on the last word, but got it out of his mouth all the same. Marnie was looking at him. They both were, but she seemed especially sharp. Use paper money. Where you from? Sometimes, Jedediah said. It's complicated. He trailed off, thinking, do they want to rob me? But that was absurd. The man was armed and Jed was alone. If they wanted everything he had, they'd have taken it already, and buried him in the place of whatever it is they were digging up. Marnie shrugged. Well, they ain't going to take it anywhere hereabouts, least of all down to Julia. And to answer your question, that's the nearest place. Though you say you can read, it's right there on the signposts. Jed laughed. The signposts, right. I saw them, but didn't... It's been a lot to take in. Look, I owe you thanks. You've both been patient and kind, and you could have... I don't have much to offer in return. Anything, really. We ain't robbers, Lazarus said flatly, and Jed opened his mouth to protest, say that wasn't what he'd meant, but Lazarus shook his head. No, boy, I know you weren't trying to imply, not wishing to implicate, but it needs saying. You ain't either, clearly. Jed let out a bit of the tension he hadn't been fully aware he was carrying, though he wasn't sure why. I'll let you get back to your digging then. Whatever it is you're hoping to find, I wish you the best of luck. I thank you, Lazarus said, and it's God's tears we're hoping to find. Since you ain't looking to rob, and like as not won't know what that is anyhow. Shed from the sky, Marnie cut in. Sell neat, but dangerous in certain quarters, you understand? Speaking of which, if you from a joining so far along in time, you might be carrying something worth real cash to certain people. Take care with it. You get along to Julia. You see old Hephaestus. 5 houses down Main, north from center. Can't miss it. Anvil and a cogwheel on the sign hanging out front. He's been honest enough in his dealings to my knowledge, but he's crotchety. Take care you don't offend. Yeah, Jedediah said. I'll take care. I guess I should find somewhere to camp. Any good spots along the road? Yeah, Lazarus said. About a mile down and most of another. You take care, Jedediah. You'll find it needed. Jed held out his hand, and Lazarus shook it. His hand was rough and warm with strength held in polite reserve. Thanks again. No need, Lazarus said, and Marnie added, You find you a friend. Gonna come in need of that, too. Jedediah smiled at her, best as he could. Yep, he said, slowly turning away toward the signpost. Julia, 4 miles, it read, along with Terminus, 159 miles, and Shawano, 123 miles, and then Ruin, crossed out in lines of angry red with no miles given. Don't really need them, Jed thought. Don't really need them at all. See you all again, maybe, he said. God give pardon, Marnie replied, and Jed went. Dark forest, quiet road, a bit more direction, a small touch of hope. Hey, thanks for listening. That was the second chapter of Jedediah is a Stranger, a serial I'm writing specially for this channel. The description's got a link to my published books if you'd like to read more. And if you'd like to hear more, hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and subscribe to my Substack because the algorithm gods might not notify you otherwise.